So here I am with a little lower voice because of some coughs and stuff. But we are here to speak about a very beautiful topic. And we get questions from a lot of people about this topic. And Sjoukje and me are going to tap into it. So I'm going to call her on soon. Because we co-create this field. And because it's such a deep spiritual space, and we love to work also deeply with sexuality, there's a lot of confusion about that. And then in general, all kinds of questions come up. Like, oh, is it the same as this? Or, well, I'm always afraid of that. Or, I would love more of this. Like, I've never been able to find it anywhere. Is that then with you? Or should I go anywhere else? Or that people not even realize that things are happening to them that are not a certain norm, that have become a norm, but they should not specifically be a norm. So let's debunk a few things and let's tap in. I'm going to ask her in. It's nice to see people hopping on. Welcome. You see the beautiful red earth from Ibiza behind me. Let me see. Are you here, my love? Is it working? Yes. Okay. And the loveliness is that Sjoukje has an extra special filter because it's something with her phone, but I think it looks very pretty. And I put on a little extra filter to be with the light more behind me because otherwise things would not work out here. So we both are a little bit interesting in the light. Hello, my love. Here
Hello.
we are. So
Yes.
we're going to tap into one of our favorite topics, and I know it's one of yours. And before we start, we are going to tell you how we are going to speak about it, because some places don't like us to speak about these topics anymore. So, Sjoukje, wow, lit here. We give that a code word. We give it a code word we call the S space. Yeah, the S space. And taking you along in that whole beautiful realm of it. Where does it start? Where does it end? What are the questions that people have that come to us? So what lights you up in this area? Because you also brought it up in a way, like, hey, actually we were just speaking about that. And yeah, so let's dive in.
Yeah. And what we hear, so shall I introduce myself a little bit?
Yes, let's do that. Let me introduce you.
Who is this?
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the beautiful Sjoukje. She has been with us for 1.5 years, I think. Needed a little moment before she felt like, do I dare to go into this field right now? Is it time? Because so many things were at play at the time, remember? And then it felt like, damn, actually it is the right moment. And you came and nothing stayed the same ever since. That's basically a little bit how it went. And the beauty of it is that she brought in her other qualities in the field. So it was very much a match in our space. It opened up so much in her. And now she's also bringing in her managing skills, but way more than that. An energy frequency person, tending the field, looking how we can better things, refining things, blow things up in a good way. So this is beautiful Sjoukje, who has been more and more involved and becoming my right hand, and it's a lot of fun. We're finding the way. It was quite a year. And and here we are creating beautiful magic.
Yeah, and I think it's also beautiful. You mentioned the time that I stepped in. That is over a year ago, and that was as a participant. I did not know about Beyond. I found it on social media, and I really felt a calling. And yeah, I think that the craving there, that there somewhere in my system I felt, oh, the craving wants to go here, and that was really the craving of like a more of a fullness of the S space. Like, how can I bring my fullness into life? And I'm very, very grateful that that this is the temple, and this is the space I went to. As we also, if we talk about the S space and temples, we get some experiences from people and questions, and we hear that in those space, like temple spaces, a lot of people feel that there is a certain pressure, or they have to perform in a certain form, or like fit in a certain mold. And then there's also,
and that there is also a mode in there, you know, it's set up like this, it's going like that, and then
you wear those and those clothes. And then there is also what we hear from people. Another thing is that they actually have a fear of bringing their own S space in. And another fear is like, is there a holding for me to really bring in my fullness?
If I bring my fullness in, will I kill the space, or can it hold me, you know, and deepen me?
And then the Beyond Temple is a space that offers something different, that there's a different and a more broader access for the S space. And so what we hear back from participants that like either during the temple or after, is that their whole perspective of the S space changes.
And also the perspective nowadays of temple, because you know, like we are beyond. It has started as a temple. It is still a temple. It's a full 8-day, or, you know, depending on how we do it, has been the average of this year, 8-day space, which is super deep work where we bow down to the altar of life. And actually, on a certain essential level, has nothing to do with the S space. Not as an entry. And it is where all of life is being welcomed. And nowadays there are so many temples, temple nights being brought out. I'm actually in shock. I'm still processing all that I'm seeing, what I'm hearing back from people as I'm here on the island. It's just maybe that's another call, but it's like a lot to take in on how large the mode has become on these spaces, and also the contraction of people that were like, oh, this is not actually, if I really feel, this is not my space. So what happens a lot is that there is being created an armor around what is already vulnerable, whether that's in the subtleties or in the rawness. And then there becomes a mode like, okay, so this space works like that, the holder is doing it like this, so let me adjust to that. And then that is being called the temple night. And what I hear from people is that they search for way more depth, or that they feel like, like you said, like, can I bring my fullness? Can I be bold? Can I be like really silent? What is being able to be held here? And a lot of people are searching that. So the beauty of having all those spaces is people are actually wanting to explore more. But what is happening now is that the exploration becomes a little bit of the same. So this is why we love to tap into this topic. What have you not met yet in your S space? So also, if you have a question, you can type it here if something comes up for you. But we would love to tap into, where do we start with? I have to look back on, we had some questions written down from people.
I think what would be a nice what would be nice to dive into is like how you now told about like what is it that what in different temples, what is the experience, and like how do we do it in beyond temples, what what makes it different?
Yeah.
And so for me, what is really inspiring is that it doesn't have to look a certain way, and that brings, like, that is asking for a lot of boldness, because if your space doesn't have to look a certain way, and the ways that we are being shown in so many places and on TV and in social media, wherever, then how do you move then? And it's a really big invite to bring your whole fullness there, and that asks also for a lot of boldness.
And for something else than to having this space. So we work with vertical first, and I've said it many times, like we plug in here, we plug in deep into the soil. So if we open this channel first, the divine, and we become that vessel through which it all can come through, then when we are filled with that, everything starts to look and feel different. Then we can start to play. But if we start from this horizontal level, all these stories come first. Like, it should look like this. I'm afraid of that. I need to meet this. All the personal and the personality stuff is here at play. It's also very interesting. We also work with that. Like, okay, so what is happening here to unfold, to expand the systems? But by bringing this first, is something opens up in a wider sense, and the whole space is being filled with a certain substance. In that substance, everything relaxes. And when we bring in the deeper relaxation, also the expansion comes in more. There is meditation, there is divine quality, where we actually feel that we are being made LOVE2 by the breath, by even the hit in us, like, oh, this hurts, or that we can take it all as, like there's so much beauty in being able to receive all the bits and pieces that we meet, that we have forgotten how beautiful it actually is, and how that is actually a part of this whole space. So what we have done is separated ourselves from the space, actually, saying, okay, this is life, and then this is space. But it's so woven together. And then from that wovenness, we open a certain space or certain practices that we sometimes don't know where they start or begin, or where it becomes a ritual, or where it becomes very anchored, very precise, or very wide. And because we tap into so many layers, it is kind of like, because it comes from a different angle, it is like a healing. It's like little drops of medicine to all the places that, from that just personal level, we cannot access so easily. And we try to fix things on the same level that we have been hurt. But actually, it's not possible. So this is why we turn everything upside down, literally. But we first do this, and then we bring in specificnesses. And through that, it becomes medicine. It's really like an alchemizing process, and it has nothing to do, right? And because I think you are one of the people that are also an embodiment of that, like, it becomes you. It's not something that you should do, or how to behave, or how to be. Like, it becomes through you. And then it's like, how much of that can you allow? And for you, that's different than for me. And for, like, everybody is in their own space or stage. But everything else falls away, other than the invite of life, the invite of how it pours through you, and then how can you give into it?
Yeah. And we were also talking about it today, like what do you then actually do in beyond? Like, what is that? And it's so hard to give words to that, as it's as you just as you just expressed, is such a deeply layered field where we really work with, allowing life to move through us in so many ways, where we really have to take off part of our identity and take off part of our personal. So it's what we offer, it's so much more than just a practice. But could you explain a little bit, like how do you create this field?
Yeah. So I've done a lot of work to be able to go out of the way. So it's not me, about me doing things. And to still be that solid anchor that knows how to go into the deepest places of the human experiences. So I think I have been able to master that to a certain degree. Like I'm a deep anchor into the rootedness of humanness and understanding how it works in nervous systems and in energetic bodies and in physical bodies and the energetic field, and how can we bring that all together. So what I dared to do at some point was not like, okay, I used to, when I started retreats and all that, like I written everything out, 10 o'clock this, 10:05 that, and that, like everything was, and that was like a controlling mechanism, and because I wanted to do it right. So what I found out that it was the entrance was on the other side of that spectrum is actually let me blast open, know that I have that anchor. When I got it, and also know when it's off, like when it's on, when it's off. And the moment that I start to really listen to when it's on, it didn't matter anymore where it came from. So whether it's a practice or a ritual, it was all in place. And that was my lovemaking, actually. Like, wow, I really feel how I'm being taken. And the only thing that I needed to do was being the vessel to give that through. And sometimes it was like, whoa, are we fucking kidding me? On a mind level, but we just feel like, wow, it works, stay on it, because this is it. Yeah. So what it means is that there's so it asks something from me, and then to how are we as a team, also like plugged into that. Can we plug into all these layers at the same time? Because that is teaching number one. And to have been in certain depths of life, this is not a thing like, okay, in Tantra we say hello, we look each other in the eyes and we take a deep breath. If I hear one more space holder saying, take a deep breath, breathing out, I'm gonna scream. I just told it to someone I had a call with. I've met it it's so instrumental. There's no connection anymore. There's nobody in it. Everybody who speaks it, I'm not feeling them, and everybody who's doing it is not feeling it either. So why are we still doing it? And this is the difference. And I'm like, everything that I do, as much as I can, I try to feel, taste, sense if it's really like a transmission in the moment. Is it a true channeling into truth? Or is it just like, oh, this is fun to do, let's just do this or that? And how we bring it together is there's a large variety of stages that we have. Like sometimes you have to dysregulate something to bless something, open something. Sometimes you have to really let something land and ground, and something needs to be very nourishing, something needs to be birthed. So there's all these stages that we move with, and to all these stages certain practices or rituals are entrances or deeper swirlings down. And I never know, well, there's some things that I just see like, okay, I have a creative system, I've done a lot of work, I guess it's a combination. But then how we bring things together is really like, how would you say it? And then we bring things together and it becomes
it almost becomes like this wild big organism that we all somehow play part in, and that's the field. Like we listen to the field, and on the one hand we're weaving the field as a team, as the participants, to make a certain holding, and on the other hand we're being weaved through like a deeper intelligence of life and allowing that.
Yeah, and what we have, and I think that is the spectrum that gives us this whole capacity and spectrum, is we have a very preciseness, you know, like I know exactly when something is right or not, like I'm very fierce on certain things, and there is this huge expansive quality to bring in. And when we bring that together, this is where magic really happens, and where people dare to dive deeper into their realms of their own S spaces and meet other things than you sometimes think. So there's a lot of preoccupation, a lot of thoughts like, okay, so I see on a lot of invites, for example, of course, also in our what to bring list, there's a lot of things that you can bring, you know. But I would never, so one of my sentences there is, if you feel like, what is your expression that wants to come out as a possibility, because we never know if that's being used or not, but dress to express, not to impress. What I see happening a lot is put on your sexy wear and go for it or something. And that already creates something, especially, and we had it here in a big event that I was in. There was a party being thrown, and people were, you know, there was many deep spaces, workshops, everything, and all of a sudden there was a party night, and people dressed up in funky ways. So there's fun, you know, people dressing up, and you just feel like, and I saw some people really like, where did I come? Because everything that has come open was armored again, and you could not feel people. People were in a little doing mode. Okay, we're doing a party here, how we are used to it in high school or in or finally I'm on Ibiza, so I'm partying like this. And I saw some shocks in some people, and this is what I sometimes feel like, there is so many molds, that whether it is how we move, how we talk, to bring us in, and when we bring ourselves out of that, whether it's on the S space, on temples, on life, how can we unmode and allow to not be something or someone? The freedom that lies behind all these forms that are being put up on us. How many of us don't know? Like, I know everybody who is seeing this, watching now and later, that there has been places in your life, and still are, where you're just like, when the S space comes across as a theme to speak about or to be with, whether that's with a partner or in a certain space, or what you said, like, yeah, you know, there's so many spaces like this, but then how can you like really bring yourself in from a deeper space, knowing that that can be held beyond the potential form that it's being created from? And I'm always so curious about, you know, all the little corners, and like, okay, bring me more. Let's see more of this. You know, there's so much more to life. It's so vast and so other interesting that, yeah, it's almost like, you know, when people speak about sensuality, for example, it's also such a thing. You know, a lot of programs are running with that. But it comes naturally when we are so tapped in, then life is coming out of us like that. There is nothing to do, nothing to gain. It's just being it. We are that. And
It's a certain leaning into life.
Yeah.
Like a, and that also, like sensuality, there is like a lot of images you like we have with that, and what is it to be a sensual woman, or like, but it is the leaning into it and the allowing of it, rather than what it would look like for someone else.
Yeah, and if you are, you know, if there is we are more subtle and more raw, and everything in between.
Mm.
So how can you, like, I love to have the metaphor of the rubber band always on this too, like you either collapse or you overstretch fast. And there is this middle point, like where there's just a nice stretch, like, oof, something is opening up here, but I can still hold this. So what is your containment? What is your holding through which can come through? And that you don't know how it's going to look like. And to be able to stay with that in this, and yes, you know, like it will look different. You will meet yourself in different ways. You will make motions that you've never done before, and it has nothing to do with I am with someone in this. It is basically you and life, and then sometimes you're in a transpersonal situation, in a practice, and sometimes it is in a certain motion with someone, but it is, at least how we do it, it's not so much about, so how can we be
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And what there's so really inviting the S space like that, and that asks for, yeah, really a certain stepping out of the way of the personal, and yeah, a daring, like the courage to step in the way from a or like, how do you say this, allow something different to really come up, or something you have been suppressing, or something bigger, like the expansion, allowing like the bigness of life to move through you. It's as we say, like in temple life, that can look like anything. And we also see how participants were like, yeah, playing with this, or practicing with this, or being in a space like the Beyond Temple, where that is allowed, where they feel they can explore this, allow this, also has an effect
and heal.
For
Yeah,
and heal. Yeah, also has an effect for what happens after. And that's not only for like S space practices, or like the S space, but it's really like how you move through life, and how you can keep allowing that also, yeah, when you leave the temple. And that is that's so beautiful. And we see it, yeah, especially with the participants that have done the year training we have in this year. So there's still a piece they're gonna do the next upcoming immersion, but they've went through 3
in
temples
which we
already.
invite everyone into. You're invited.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're invited. Yeah, yeah. And it's so beautiful to see how they change, and like in life,
All
and what
aspects of life. Yeah.
how they radiate, how they show up, how they allow, like all these qualities. It's so beautiful.
And it's not like, it's not the one magical pill and then you're healed. Like what we do here is you go into this realm that we create, and also with the S space quality that we bring. It's not just about that, but we also bring that. You know, people really say, like, you know, one temple like this saves me 10 therapy sessions, or, you know, it's the same as 2 years of therapy. And at the same time, I was going to go somewhere. Okay, press pause.